Before I get into, oh gosh. Hey, what's up everybody? Thank you for coming back to this channel, God. Hey everybody, welcome back to this channel. Before we get into today's video, I just want to express my huge gratitude for all the support and all the positive encouragement that you guys have been giving me and sending my way ever since I released that first video and also the LA vlog. Thank you so much for all of that. It's making me very encouraged and very excited to create more stuff for you guys. I also have very interesting videos coming down the pipeline that are pretty different for a channel of this type that teach things like working hard and all this other stuff. So anyways, you guys will see that when it comes out. 2020 is off to a great start. I already shot 2 weddings and I'm doing other commercial projects right now, so business is looking good. But because I shot 2 weddings so far, I just wanted to maybe start off a series about wedding photography business side and also the day of stuff and preparations and post-production stuff. I think that could be like very interesting, and it's really hard to imagine how to do this kind of stuff like when you're starting out, or maybe you're like a veteran and you could use some refresher tips. I probably can't teach you anything because I'm fairly new to it as well. But I would just like to share like what I already know and what I'm still learning and whatever I can provide for you guys. So today's video is about the wedding day shoot list. This is gonna be a long one, so if you are really interested in learning more about like wedding photography, like get your notepad, get your pen ready, because this is gonna be a long one, all right? So here we go. Disclaimer, this is just from my personal experience, so everything that I'm about to say is what I've done for the 17 weddings total that I've shot so far as of right now. So you could take the shot list, take it with a grain of salt, like cherry pick whatever you want, but I'm not saying that this is like the law of the land. So just learn what you want, take what you want, and also just erase the ones that you just don't want to do, okay? So that is the disclaimer, so let's begin. Wedding photography is such a high stress gig for the same exact thing, and the anxiety the day before and the weeks leading up to it never really go away, even if you like shoot like 5, 10, 15, or 20 weddings. I always feel like Eminem from 8 Mile, like, you know, like in the intro where he throws up before he goes up on stage. I always feel like that, minus the nasty bathroom and stuff. And I don't throw up either, but I'm anxious. I have my notes. Oh gosh, that's a lot. This is gonna be a really long video. So the first part of the day is the getting ready. Now, if you're the main photographer, you're typically going to be with the bride and the bridesmaids. And if you're the second photographer, you're gonna typically be with the groom and the groomsmen. Now, how this works is you guys would separate and then go to where the bride is getting ready, where the groom is getting ready. And one way to treat this part of the day is kind of like the warm-up, because you're really getting acquainted with everybody on one side of the party, and really trying to capture like the emotion and kind of like the energy and the dynamic that they kind of behave with their closest friends. Like, are they goofballs? Are they like really shy? Are they like really energetic around each other? So on and so forth. Make sure you photograph the dress by itself, the accessories that they would wear, like the watch or maybe something customized. First wedding that I shot, the groomsmen had these custom suspenders that were made of leather, and one of the groomsmen made it. So that's like one of the things that you have to really pay attention to and really want to document. Also get the shoes, the bouquet, the ties, and all these other things that they'd be wearing, and really have fun with it. Like, you could totally pop self-deprecating jokes to make them laugh, or you can just speak with them, or you can just literally tell them, hey, I'm gonna be a fly on the wall. You guys can do whatever you want, and I'm just gonna float around the room and just do like a very documentary style photography, which is what I like to do. And I think communicating with the bride and the groom in that way is very, very helpful, because being in front of the camera is kind of awkward. And if you're a photographer, I'm pretty sure you understand this as well. So be clear with them, but also be yourself. You don't have to be this super high energy extrovert if you're not. You don't have to be this really quiet person if you're not as well. Just be yourself in this moment, and it's really warm up to these people who you're going to be working with for the next 8 to 10 hours or something like that. Some other important shots to get are like the smiles, and also some wedding parties, like they like get a drink with each other before they move on from this getting ready part. Get like a mirror shot, get the best man throwing on the groom's coats, or get the bridesmaids walking together outside with each other. Remember, this is just the warm-up, and the 2 things that you should be focused on is 1, the details, and 2, getting acquainted with the people who you're working with. Now, the second part after the getting ready is the first look. Now, not all clients want to do this part, but if you do, this is personally my favorite part of the day. The first look is the most intimate part of the day because it's just a bride and it's just a groom in a new location and they're away from everybody else. Because in a wedding, it's very stressful and it's kind of typically not even for the bride and groom, it's for everybody else and they have to talk to hundreds of people, take so many pictures, yada, yada, yada. But this is the time where they can finally just be together in a really quiet setting. That's why it's my favorite. So the first look is typically like this. You guys are in a new location, you guys meeting the photographer and the groom first. The bride comes later. The groom is set up in one space and he's looking one way. And eventually the bride is going to come up behind him, tap him on the shoulder. He's going to turn around and this is the first time that the groom will see the bride in her dress and it's going to be a very emotional moment. Now, things to prepare for. One, scout the location that you're gonna be shooting at because you don't want it to be too crowded. You don't want to put them in a place where it's very unideal for lighting or for pictures in general. Two, if you have a second photographer or videographers present, make sure that you coordinate your positions so that you don't get in each other's way because it'd be terrible if you're like photographing a reaction and you see, oh look, your second photographer in the photo. So make sure that you guys are at the right angles to document this part. The third thing that you really need to pay attention to, this is a very small detail, but it should be communicated to the bride. Tell her which shoulder to tap on because it's very weird if you don't tell her that and she just stands behind him and doesn't know what to do, right? So tell her which shoulder to tap and then the groom will turn around and then you guys can start firing off. Now for this first look, make sure that you have like your autofocus set, maybe to continuous or whatever, or maybe your camera has high frames per second. I personally shoot on a Canon 1DX Mark II and the favorite part about this camera is that it has a very high frames per second when I'm shooting continuously. I love this thing. And you want to fire off as many shots as you can, or maybe you're more intentional and you would prefer not to do that. That's totally fine, but that's what I typically like to do so I can like get every second of this guy like getting shocked or the girl laughing so much because of her future husband's pretty candid reaction. So after like they have their moment of speaking with each other, like, you know, they saw each other for the first time, right? You can then take them for a little bit of a couple session. This is the most creatively demanding part of the day because you as a photographer, you want to like provide like the best photos that you can, right? And in this setting, you have the most creative control because it's not in a ceremony space and you could tell them to pose however you want. You could tell them to move with you, laugh, fake laugh, or you could pop some more self-deprecating jokes to make them laugh. That's typically what I like to do. Yeah. Now the next part of the day is the wedding party photos. Now this is where the whole data gathering part of the getting ready process comes into play because you watched how the groom and the groomsmen behave with each other and the bride and the bridesmaid behave with each other. So now you get to use that to your advantage to create some pretty fun portraits. Now you don't have to go too fancy and all that stuff. There was one wedding that I shot for my friends Reagan and Kedrick, and all three of us were fans of Wes Anderson, and he's a great movie director, one of my favorites, and his style and composition is very unique to him, very centered, very symmetrical, and also very fancy with the outfits and the props. So my second photographer brought white umbrellas and I used it for the composition and it was killer. Like, it is my favorite wedding party photo of all time so far. Now you can prepare for this as well, like in your meetings with the bride and groom before the wedding day even started, like months in advance when you guys were just even talking. You can ask the bride and groom like, oh, what is the relationship between you and your wedding party? And this will help you with the photos of this segment of the day. Now, make sure you get all the configurations like the bride and groom and all the bridesmaids, bride and groom and all the groomsmen, and then all the groomsmen and all the bridesmaids together without the bride and groom, and then so on and so forth. One of my favorite compositions to use is called the Selfie Gang. Now, I would just have the bride or the groom take out their photo and then pretend or actually take a selfie with the entire gang, and they're all just like bunched up together and having a whole lot of fun. And this is like a perfect time to like shoot a very candid moment where they're just all being friends together before the chaos of the ceremony. Kinda kidding. Not really kidding. Now here comes the part that could be the hardest part of the day. Family photos. Nobody wants this part of the day to go any longer than it should. Nobody. Not a single soul. The key to getting through this part of the day is a lot of preparation before the wedding day even comes close. Now hopefully you had a lot of Skype calls or face-to-face coffee dates. to talk about the logistics of the day, but make sure that you really compile a list with the bride and groom of all the uncles, aunties, and cousins and all the family members and friends that they want to take photos for, because it really helps with this part of the process if you can just name off each person line by line by line by line by line, so that they can just come up, take the photos, and then get out. Because again, nobody wants this part of the day to go any longer than it should. Hopefully, if you have a second photographer, they could just read this list for you. They could call out who's on deck, like uncle this, auntie that, and cousin this. They could just go on, snap 2 photos, just in case somebody blinks. Somebody always blinks, and that's okay, that's okay, that's okay. But somebody always blinks. So just have the bride and groom plant themselves in this one location, and you're just moving people to the left and to the right of them, and then they just move out. Be quick and be very efficient. Think of it like a pit crew. Like all you're doing is just changing out the wheels and like moving very fast so that they can just like move on through this part of the day. And again, take 2 photos at least of each family member configuration, because somebody always blinks. So go bride, groom, and the whole bride side of the family, so that that could be out of the way first, so that the bride can stay, chill, and relax the entire time. And then go through the groom side of the family, and then so on and so forth. Remember, preparation is the key to getting through this part of the day, and efficiency with your second photographer will make this part of the day even easier. Remember that when you're the wedding photographer, your job is to make pictures the easiest part of the day. Okay, you're not trying to make it more challenging. You should be the hardest worker throughout the entire 8-hour day. If the bride works harder than you, good luck, man. Or woman. Good luck. So after all that is done, then you head into the cookie cutter part of the day, which is the ceremony. Now most ceremonies only last 30 minutes and they're typically the same. Usually they enter through the room, make sure you get photos of the bridesmaids and the groomsmen walking through the aisle. Then the bride comes through the middle. Make sure that you center yourself in the middle and that you're shooting down the aisle, and hopefully you can have an angle where you can be shooting behind her as she walks in as well. Oh yeah, by the way, make sure you get details of the ceremony space. That is very important as well. And then for the whole 30-minute period, you can just hover. Also communicate if you can hover around the altar where the bride and groom are. There are some Catholic churches that have this rule where you can't cross a certain line in the space that they have because of some kind of regulation. I don't know why, but there was one venue that I shot at and they had this invisible line in the middle of the sanctuary, and if I were to ever cross it, they would stop the ceremony and tell me to go back. I never broke the line, of course, because we coordinated that, but there are some venues that have restrictions, so please communicate with the bride and groom and maybe the minister or the pastor or whoever it is to see if you can go around and to get a certain shot that you would like or the bride and groom would like. But going back to the bride coming in, as she comes down the middle, make sure that like your autofocus points are like set, that is continuous, that you can do continuous shooting, and also pay attention to how the groom is reacting to her entry. You know, he could be crying and, you know, more tears, great photos. So really try to capture the emotional reaction, because I mean, a wedding day is very emotional. These two are committing their lives to each other. So the ceremony is very cookie cutter, but don't slack at this part. Make sure that you get the rings being put on, and when the first kiss is about to happen, you should be prepared for the angle that you want to shoot at, and also like the settings that are appropriate for the lighting. You should be ready before it even comes close to happening. And then once they kiss, pop off all those shots. And then for the first time ever, Mr. and Mrs. yada yada yada, and then they walk out, backpedal, backpedal, and shoot, 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 shoot. For this backpedaling part, I kid you not, please be careful of how you're backpedaling. There are some churches that have this fountain in the middle, or some venues that have this fountain in the middle of the aisle for some weird freaking reason. And I've seen like horror clips, and also seen with my own eyes, of photographers that are backpedaling with the bride and groom, the newly Mr. and Mrs. and boom, and then they get tabletop by this fountain that came out of nowhere, and then they fall into the water, and it is pretty bad. So please be careful of when you're backpedaling. Maybe your second shooter can be a spotter, or just be mindful of the area that you're walking around in. So ceremony part is very cookie cutter. Once you like get 1, 2, or 3 weddings down, you probably know what to expect. There are some couples that don't kiss at the ceremony, so make sure that you get that down so you're not surprised when they don't do that, and you'll be like, oh, what? All right, so you made it through the entire day, and now it's time for the reception. Now the reception is the easiest part of the day. There is really nothing complicated about it. There's the first dances, like with the father and daughter, there's the first dances between the bride and groom, and then the groom and his mom, or any like combination of that. There could be a money dance with some cultures, or there could be like other specific types of events that they have on the reception, but mostly the reception is just fun. You can have fun on the dance floor, you could dance with them and just pop shots off like from the top. Now, there is this photographer that I follow based on Chicago. His name is Eric Floberg, and he actually takes the reception very seriously. He's very artistic with his compositions. I'll link his videos somewhere on these corners. Eric Floberg is very intentional with the reception part. This is also the time when he delivers these Polaroids that he would take throughout the day, like with his like Fujifilm Instax or an actual Polaroid camera. And he'd be taking these photos like throughout the day, like in the getting ready and in the first look or whatever. And then this is when he would like deliver it to the bride and groom's table, and they would react, and then like he would take photos of that too. I think it's a very great practice, and I did it once, but after that I just kept forgetting to do it. But that is one thing that you can add to the whole experience for the bride and groom. And usually they're pretty relaxed at this point too, because they're eating, they're finally getting food in their systems, and they can just sit down and relax. And yeah, so during this part of the day, have fun and really document anything exciting that happens in the room, but you know, have fun with it. There are some couples that do a grand exit with sparklers or like a getaway car. Make sure that you get ready for that and coordinate with the couple. Like, you might want to like have them stop in the middle of the walkway like as they're exiting, so do a little kiss and then like fire off on that, and then get ready for the getaway car, and then they zoom off, and then that's when you're on your way as well. So that's it. So hopefully you got all that down on your notes or whatever, and hopefully you enjoyed that video. That's typically what my workflow looks like for a wedding day if you ever work with me. And you know, again, this is just through my personal experience. It doesn't mean that your wedding day has to look like this, but thank you all for watching. Hopefully like your wedding days are going to be smooth, get those family photo configurations a-okay, and really try to get to know the bride and groom through a lot of consultations, through a lot of meetings, because you know, it's supposed to be fun. You know, the wedding is not supposed to be all business-like. Have fun with the bride and groom, have fun with each other, and really enjoy the process. Make relationships along the way. You know, it's, again, yeah, it's a business, but also you have to have fun doing it too, because if you're going to do wedding photography for a long time and you're not having fun, it's gonna drain the crap out of you. I love shooting weddings. Even though it's, again, high stress situation for the same exact thing, they're really fun. You just get to party it up the entire time. So that's it for this video. Thank you guys for watching. I might have forgotten a tip or two. Leave a comment down in the comment section below. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to this channel for more wedding photography tips and also other photography related content. And I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.